BNP Paribas, partenaire des plus belles histoires de Roland-Garros, aux côtés des ramasseurs de balles depuis plus de 50 ans.
Yeah, it definitely gives me a lot of confidence with the results over the last few weeks, but I think just putting those results in the past and focusing on, hopefully a good 2 weeks here.
If you have a question, please raise your hand. Any questions?
No questions.
Hey, Coco.
Hey.
Was clay so comfortable for you from the beginning? I mean, I know you've talked about going over to Martoglou's academy. Was it sort of an initial comfort zone? Because it certainly has become very comfortable for you throughout your career.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like when I started then and when I was young, I just played on it. I feel like at that time I didn't gauge surfaces or anything. I felt like I should just be good at everything. So it just felt like that. But I would say definitely for sure I think once I won Junior French Open, I still didn't even think about it being a surface thing. But I think once I got on tour, I was like, okay, I'm actually feel really comfortable on the surface. And I've noticed that, when I would go from hard to clay, it was pretty easy for me to transition to. So yeah, I definitely think it's something that I'm comfortable on. And I think I mainly credit it to me probably sliding a lot on a hard court. So when I go on clay, it just feels a lot easier.
Is there any follow-up? Sorry. And then in terms of the behavior of the ball, does that work for you? Do you think it play into your skills and talents?
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially with how heavy I hit on my forehand side, I definitely think it helps enhance that. So yeah, and then obviously athleticism, I feel like it's very hard to win on this surface if you don't move well. You can, but I just feel like it's hard to do. So yeah, I think it helps with that too.
Hi, Coco. Can you talk a little bit about the success of U.S. women's tennis? What are the main reasons to explain this success? You are 4 in the top 10.
Yeah, well, other than the obvious size of country and things like that plays a big role. But I feel like just us having a lot of role models to look up to throughout the history of the sport. There's always been multiple American women doing well in the sport. So it inspires other people to do that. And obviously when you have people who've done that before and the coaches are still very involved in the sport, it helps develop young players, and we have a lot of resources, thankfully, in the U.S., especially when it comes to tennis. So I think that also helps. And then obviously being on tour, just seeing your compatriot do well. You have to remember a lot of us grew up playing against each other in juniors, lost to each other and beat each other. And I think if you see your friend who you beat or used to beat or beat in juniors and they do super well at a slam or at a big tournament, then you're like, okay, we were at the same level at this age, so I don't see why I can't do the same. And a lot of tennis and a lot of being successful is literally just that belief factor. It's not as much the game. And I think we have a lot of belief in our country just because of the amount of success I feel like it's had over the years.
Hey, Coco. Can I just ask, 3 years ago when you lost the final here, how did you find the period after? Were you was your confidence increased because you'd got to a final, or was there a bit of a kind of hangover at the defeat? How did you find that period after?
Yeah, I think immediately after, it was a tough feeling for me because I felt like I very much underperformed in that final, not necessarily obviously in the game-wise, but mentally I was very disappointed how mentally I approached that match, and I just felt like maybe I couldn't ever overcome that. And then I just turned it into motivation, and I knew that, I don't know, you just had a deep down gut that I was going to be in a final position again, and I was like, I'm not going to go out like that. If I'm going to go out, I'm going to leave with my head held high. And so I was able to approach that U.S. Open final differently, but I definitely think I needed that finals loss to, reach this point for sure.
Any more questions?
Hi, Coco. I mean, we all know you're here to hopefully win the title. But I'm just wondering if after the Australian Open this year, you change maybe the way you're approaching the Grand Slam, maybe to alleviate a bit the pressure, or not?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like in Australia I was playing great tennis, and then I just had played Paula, who was also playing great tennis. So, I think my mindset going into this tournament, I didn't feel that much pressure really going into Australia. I was playing pretty free, and I don't really feel that here. I think I've learned, I feel like I know that it's a long way to the final. After experiencing here and then U.S. Open, I know it's a long way. So, yeah, I think just taking it match by match, point by point, and, hopefully I can end up there. If not, I'll, go back to the practice and figure out what I can do to do better.
Hi, Coco.
Hi.
What were your feelings today on the Philippe Chatrier? How did you feel?
Yeah, I think it's such a nice court. I think this is my third practice on it, and I really enjoy playing on this court. And yeah, I'm super excited. I hope I get to play some matches on this court the next 2 weeks. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Hello, Coco. Do you think like the window to win the title this year is like more open than ever, because it seems like everybody in the top 5 can have the chance to win?
Yeah, I think everybody's playing some great tennis, so yeah, I would definitely think it's pretty open. I mean, obviously, I hope I'm up there, but there's obviously like Jasmine, Irina, Iga, Qinwen, Mira. There's more I can name that I'll have the opportunity, and who knows? I mean, we all seen like things like U.S. Open happen when Emma won, so there's literally anybody can win this tournament, and yeah, I think that's what makes women's tennis exciting. I think this is why everyone should tune in, because I feel like it's maybe not so much on the men where maybe you have like maybe the top 3 or 4 who's going to win. I think women, there's so many possibilities, so it makes each matchup equally exciting.
What was the lesson that you took from Saturday and the way Rome ended?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, that was a tough match. I think I was a little bit mentally, no excuse, but I just was a little mentally drained from the long match of Qinwen. And so I think just approaching it a little bit different, but I wasn't nervous or anything. I think I maybe made too many errors that match. I feel like maybe when I'm not feeling the best on the court, I can, take some more time in between points, try to build the points more, maybe not rush out at them as much. And, it was tough. Jasmine was also playing great, so I felt like that day it just wasn't meant to be, but I put it past, and I know that next time I maybe feel like that on the court, I can do some other things to kind of make myself get back into the match.
Hi, Coco. Hi. Even with all of the experience you have and the success you've had, does it feel to you like you're still and always kind of learning and trying to improve maybe day to day or week to week or tournament to tournament? And if so, do you think that'll ever change, or will that always be part of who you are as a professional athlete?
Yeah, I feel like I'm always learning, especially at this stage of my career. I feel like I have a lot to learn and a lot that I can improve on and a lot that I can get better at. And I feel like it's always going to be like that at any point of my career, even if I mean, no one has, I don't think, ever gone through a whole year and not lost a match. So I feel like if you're, unless you're undefeated, then you probably, and you don't lose a set, then you probably always have something to work on. So I know that throughout my career, it'll be always something that I'm going to want to improve, even maybe not as much now. Like I feel like I have big things to improve, but maybe I'll reach the point where it's just taking care of even smaller little details. But I feel like as long as you're improving, it gives you a goal to get better.
Just last questions.
Can I? On a separate topic, pretty much everywhere, every tournament, every surface, there are no more line judges. It's all electronic.
Yeah.
But here, they still do have the line judges. I'm wondering, which do you prefer? Do you care which way it is? Do you think it's odd that this tournament is still sticking to the old way of doing things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like Gen Z of me, but I think if we had the technology, we should use it. I don't have strong feelings of it. Obviously, umpires are great, but I think, to me personally, I just feel like if we have the technology, it should be used. And, these small details in the match can matter in the grand scheme of things, but I respect the tournament's decision, and I respect the fact that they still have line umpires. I don't feel very strongly in either way, but if you ask like my opinion, I would say I prefer like the electronic line system, but yeah, I'm not going to be out here advocating and pushing for it. But yeah, if I had a preference, I would choose to play on the court, maybe where the robots are making the decisions.